Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Free Society podcast. My name is Luscious Hadiza, and this is our very first episode. Yay! So, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about HIV and AIDS. Today happens to be the 1st of December, and us launching this podcast on the 1st of December, we have to honor what today is, which is World HIV and AIDS Day. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about HIV and AIDS and how this disease has kind of shaped the climate of dating and everything that happens now with intimacy. I'm sure you're just like, first podcast, HIV and AIDS streets. But well, yeah, don't worry. You get to it as we go along. All right, so I remember the first time I, got introduced to HIV as a thing. I was in secondary school. I think I was about 15 or 16. And then we were having this assembly. I think we were in SS1. We were in SS2, I think, going to SS3. And, that's the time where they feel like for young people, you're becoming like sexually active. You're beginning to know or feel things in your body. And then you have this desire to experiment, So I felt like for them, that was like a pivotal part for us. And they were like, okay, gather these people together. Let us tell them what's up before they start to act crazy. So we were all seated in the assembly hall, and then they brought out this huge projector, and then somebody came to the front. I was like, okay, the principal came and she introduced this lady, and she was like, oh, she's from, I don't even know wherever she came from, but she was going to be giving us a lecture on HIV and AIDS. And I was like, which one is HIV and AIDS? So they brought I think it was like a 30-minute documentary of people who obviously were positive, HIV positive, and a lot of them were either sex workers or gay men, or human beings that society would have considered as reckless. And I say reckless with air quotes, reckless people. And the message basically was just saying that if you like, go and try yourself. This is how you're going to end. So it was a lot of fear. I would say there was a very strong undertone of fear, like don't do this, don't experiment, or you could open yourself to a risk of ending up like this. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was scared. There was literally this guy, I can still see his face, in my imagination. He was as skinny can be. He had sores all over his body, and he was just talking about how, he regrets living his life like this. He regrets this, he regrets that, and it was so scary to me because I was just like, wow, is this really what sex is about? Now, this comes, here is where my point comes in. In Africa, I feel like for us, when we navigate this topic of like sex, sexuality, understanding yourself when you're growing, especially at that pivotal point of when you're becoming like your early teens to mid-teens to late teens, a lot of times it's scare tactics, it's fear that is used as an introduction to yourself, your body, and all of that. Is either your parents are telling you, oh, don't talk to boys, or don't find yourself alone with a boy, don't allow them to touch you, or you're going to get pregnant, don't do this, don't do that, or you're going to get pregnant, and it's always like from a point of fear. If you get pregnant, we're going to throw you out of the house, or if you do this or if you do that, you're going to be a disgrace to the family. And it was the same thing in school. It was like, okay, if you go around exploring, you're going to end up burnt. You're going to end up with this scary disease that nobody knows the cure for it. And, it's just out there and it's literally a threat. Now, my point is this, fear. I believe that fear has never stopped anybody from doing anything. That's just the truth. Human beings, right? We have this thing which is called the pleasure principle. When the pleasure principle is activated, every other emotion that you think might suppress that is deadened at that point. So in the moment of pleasure, you're not thinking of the consequences of whatever could happen or the repercussion of whatever actions you are taking in the moment. The pleasure principle is stronger than all those other emotions. Now, let me relate this back to where we started from. In spite of that video, in spite of all of those scare tactics that were used in introducing us to sex and how we approach our bodies as we go, Nigeria, as at 2018, read in a UNICEF study that Nigeria is the second country that has the largest transmission of HIV, of the HIV virus, and also the second largest in the world, rather, with the highest number of newly infected people every year, with it reading about, I think, 130,000 or 190,000, something about that figure. I can't really remember the exact figure, but something around that, let's say 130,000 newly infected HIV patients every single year, and to say the least, this is quite an alarming status for a country that is largely conservative, largely hypocritical. I don't want to use the word hypocritical, but just largely very pretentious when it comes to this matter. People act like, oh, people are not having sex, and then on the other hand, it's like, oh, if you shall want to have it, just beware that you can either get pregnant or your life is going to be over, or this or that or that, And my point is this: regardless of the fact that all of these things have always loomed over society, it hasn't stopped people from doing exactly what it is that they want to do. Now, for me, I realized, as I grew older, that when it comes to making a situation better or actually having the desired effect that you would want to have from a situation, it is more ideal to come from a point of understanding where a person actually understands the why behind what it is that they do, or what it is that, would be more ideal for them to do. My argument is coming from a place of the fact that I can use myself as, I can use myself as like a template for this thing that I'm saying. I was somebody that I was kind of fearful when I was growing up, so that whole idea of my mom threatening me like, if you get pregnant, we're going to kick you out. We're going to do this. You're going to be this. You're going to... I was so afraid of all of those things happening to me that I stayed away from, anything that had to do with sex until I was well into my early 20s, before I had the nerve or anything to experiment with anything. And that was because at that point I felt like I had found the person that I was going to marry. Obviously it didn't quite turn out that way, but it still didn't stop me from going ahead and experimenting when I felt like the time and the moment was right. So I could have done it at 25, I could have done it at 15. It made no difference. The difference that was made for me was the person, not about the acting itself. So my point is basically this, realizing that a more ideal approach to these things will be coming from a point of view of, why are we doing this? What is the effect I'm getting out of this? How would it make me feel? Is it something I really want to do, or is it something that I feel I'm being pressured, to do either peer pressure or personal pressure. Is it something I really want to do? And when we can answer these questions for ourselves, we are in a better place to take more informed decisions on how we use our bodies. At the end of the day, everybody's body is their body. It's your body to do as you like. It's your body to do as you will. But when it comes to being intimate with people, we have to become aware of the fact that there are so many factors that come to play, physically, emotionally, and even mentally, health-wise. All of these are factors that come into play when we get to that point of intimacy with someone. So when we can understand the why behind what it is that we're doing, or the why behind whatever steps it is that we're taking, it helps us to navigate it from a better perspective, where I am in full control of my actions. If I am doing it, it's because I have assessed all the parameters, and whatever it is, the person, the situation has checked all those boxes for me, and I am comfortable. I'm comfortable with this decision, and I am comfortable with that person. I am comfortable sharing and reaching that level of intimacy with that person, and I feel like it's up to the parents especially to start having these open conversations with their children. A lot of parents just dance around these things, like they would rather not just talk about it, just dance around the issue, or like I said in the beginning, use scare tactics. But scare tactics, obviously, based on statistics, scare tactics have not worked. Scare tactics will not work. Scare tactics are not working. So it is more ideal to have these open conversations with children as they grow older, from like 7 years, 8 years, 9 years and upwards, to start introducing them to what their body parts are, what their body is, the emotions they could feel, the desires that they would definitely have, because these things are inevitable. It always amazes me the way African parents would just rather sweep these things under the carpet and just act like it's not there. Because the truth of the matter is, if you don't introduce your child, somebody will. Most likely the streets would introduce your child to whatever it is that you're avoiding them being introduced by, either being extremely strict or, extremely conservative, and not just being open with them, or threatening them that, if you don't wait till you get married, God is going to punish you, or you're going to go to hell. None of these things have actually had such a stronghold on people to stop them from doing what they want to do. So as I kind of come to a conclusion with this, I just want to say that this being the 1st of December, it is imperative for everybody who is sexually active to get tested, because as much as HIV and AIDS is patterned to seem like, it's a disease for the promiscuous, it's a disease for the daughters of the moonlight, or is a disease for gay men, that's not true. Those people are still regular people who have intercourse with other regular people per time, so it could literally happen to anybody. The best way to navigate these things is to be aware, informed, and to get tested. So on this day of the 1st of December, I encourage everybody who might come across this podcast, get tested. Ensure that your partner is also tested. Ensure that there is trust, there is understanding, and there is openness in your relationship, and you're navigating it from a point of total and complete understanding and awareness. Thank you so much for staying with me. If you have listened to this to the very end, you're an amazing person. This is my very first episode, and we're still getting used to the ropes. So stick with us. It's going to be a lot of learning and exciting things. And thank you for being here. I will definitely see you in our next episode, and we will put links of where people can get tested in the description of this episode, links to what you can research, where you can get tested, and if you think you are at risk, how you can navigate it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey guys, this is a PSA. A free society provides counseling and support group services to people who are living with HIV, to people who are at risk of contacting HIV, or to anybody at all who would just want to find out more information about this disease. HIV is no longer a killer disease. With the right amount of care, medication, and exposure to the right treatment, it's very possible to live a long and healthy life where there is no risk of transferring the virus, and um, a person can also live to the fullest of their potential even if they are HIV positive. So it's imperative for all of us to be informed, stay informed, and get tested, know your status. HIV is not a killer disease. Thank you guys for being with us, and I'll see you in our next episode. Bye.